Welcome to the Executive Coaching Podcast, where Executive Coach Alicia Cowan will discuss leadership topics and coaching solutions to tackle the most difficult problems that keep you from leading your team to success.
Hi there, leaders. It's Alicia Cowan. Welcome to episode number 29 of the Executive Coaching Podcast. We are going to air this on January 2nd. And so Happy New Year to you. I want to give you a quick update as I'm recording this in December about what's going on around the Cowan household. So we are a mere 2 days away from closing. And so when this airs, we will have been in the house about a week or two. And of course, I will update you, all about how it's been going. But this week is going to be a really big, exciting week for us as we close on our house and move into our house all in one swoop right before the Christmas holiday. And this past week has just been wild and busy too. Our 13-year-old daughter ran for 8th grade class vice president and won. And we were so thrilled for her. And she also had 2 cheer competitions back-to-back weekends and won first place and third place. And we're so proud of her because that third place win was actually harder fought because they had a couple of team members that were not feeling so hot. And so had to last minute replace someone literally as they're warming up a few minutes before they went on, and just overcame a lot of adversity where they handled it with a level of maturity and professionalism as a team. And we were just very proud of her for how she and the team connected themselves. So that made me think a lot though. And I've been reflecting on a lot as we've been building this house for 2 years. And my business just turned 3 this month. And so I've been thinking a lot about the challenges of my business and our family and what we're all facing in the workplace, as well as our own personal lives too, right? And so I've been reflecting a lot on the challenges that we've all had ahead of us. And I've been thinking a lot as I've been reflecting on the past couple of years about what it takes and what is required to achieve success. And what did it take to get to this point? And what was required and asked of us, what we had to go through in order to get to this point. And so today, what I want to talk about is I share all these personal updates. They're so relevant because I want to think about goal setting for 2024. And I want to take a frame point, or a point of view, I guess is what I'm saying, is on a point of view on this about what are we willing to do and what are we willing to feel in order to achieve our goals. And I might cuss a little bit in this one. So if you're having children or you don't feel comfortable with listening to that, I'm giving you a warning ahead of time because I'm feeling spicy on this one. So just a warning. So the question is really are you willing to feel like ass in order to achieve your goals? Okay. And I want to talk about it because I think it's important to know both sides of the coin. I think there's so much out there talking about how you need some of the positive feelings in order to go after your goals. And it's not true. You need things like drive, determination, and courage in order to go after big, massive goals. But I also think that it's important for me to share what I believe is required as a currency for success and growth that may not feel as positive. So here's where we're going to go with this. Let's start and let's talk about 2024 goals. I've shared this and I've done podcasts in the past about goal setting. Last year I did one around this time, it was episode 4, around setting goals. And then even at the beginning of the month, I believe it aired earlier, November, December, around checking in towards your year-end goals. I firmly am a big believer in setting really big goals for yourself. And I don't do New Year's resolutions. And I think it's fine if you do, nothing wrong with that. I just personally don't align with New Year's resolutions anymore, but I do really love a good annual goal that I can achieve and set for myself in a calendar year. And so if you're at all a goal setter, whether it be for yourself personally or within the workplace, and we're in, a traditional place of goal setting at the beginning of the year, I think it's a time where we can do both, a reflection backwards and planning ahead of where we want to be in the new year. I want to share this philosophy at this time because I think it can be relevant. Like, how do we plan ahead for our really big goals that we're going to set for ourselves? And I don't think this is something that's commonly and widely discussed. So I want to share this philosophy on going after these big goals. And that is how to plan ahead for feeling terrible as you go after your big goals. And we don't necessarily always talk about what feelings we may experience as we go after these really big goals. And we don't decide ahead of time if we're willing to go through the experience of feeling them. These negative feelings that we need to feel can be this currency of achieving massive success. And we just don't plan for them at all. So that's what I want to do today, is really explain what I mean here and talk about what it looks like. So let's start with this very tactical example. So we set a goal for ourselves. Again, whatever that goal may be for you, you know what a big, massive goal feels like for you. It's something that we've never done before. We set this goal and, there's tons of work out there of like understanding your why when you set a goal. And that is important. So we set this goal and we really get clear on our why, and we get clear, why do we want to go after it? And that's going to be really important, right? That helps drive whether or not, we want to go through the process of feeling some of these negative feelings. So we get really clear. Again, that's not where we're going to focus on goal setting. We're going to talk about what it's going to take to get through it. So sometimes when we just set this goal and we start thinking about a big, massive goal that we've never done before, that can just be the immediate start of the negative feelings. Just setting the goal, either writing it down or even saying it out loud and admitting that we want to go after it, can immediately start to bring up thoughts that lead to feelings like fear, like doubt, like uncertainty, anxiousness. That can all come up because of how we're thinking about that goal. We might think, this is too big for me. I can't never achieve this. This is unrealistic. I don't think I can do it. It's going to be too much work, all of that. And then all the fear, doubt, and uncertainty can come up, right? And sometimes sometimes we don't get past any of that. Like sometimes we as humans just don't even get past that part. We don't even get past the part of saying, I am willing to feel some of this. Some people were like, this feels terrible. I don't think I can do this. And so because they don't even want to like go through the discomfort of potential failure, they decide to fail ahead of time. So they don't even go after it. Now, I don't think it's a lot of you listening to this podcast because you're, again, usually high achieving, successful leaders that have gone after some pretty gnarly goals. So we're going to put that one aside, but notice just then that could happen, that in setting goals, at times we literally can just start like, again, conjuring up all these feelings because of how we're thinking about that massive goal. So then if we get past that, then we start to plan and strategize the steps to take. Okay, so we set this goal, then we start thinking, okay, how am I going to go after it? If I did achieve it, what would I do first? What would I start with? What would I plan for, right? We start to think of some like tactical things. What action would I take? And we start feeling determined. We're like, okay, we can like make some of these steps. We can take some action here. We start feeling like good. We're like, okay, I feel determined. I can do that, right? And we start taking action. We're feeling determined, but then we hit an obstacle. And I know, again, a lot of you as senior leaders, you know how to problem solve. You're great at like figuring things out and how to like work around certain obstacles, but we don't always plan really well for obstacles all the time because we can't and don't always know when or what is coming for us. There's just no way. It's not possible. So even if we have the best strategic minds out there planning for the SWOT and planning for obstacles and all those good things, there's just no way you can chart it all out, right? So realistically, we have something that pops up that we're not aware of. And here's the rub. We don't go into that obstacle thinking, oh, here it is. I was wondering when you were going to show up. It's obstacle time. Let's go. Let's do this. With like this like crazy sense of optimism and just openness and just ready for it, right? We start to think a thought like, this isn't supposed to happen. This is a disaster. What was I thinking? I can't do this. Like multitude of other frustrations or insert really like negative thoughts here, right? We don't just go into it super positive, typically. Okay. There's some of you might out there be the anomaly, say in the whole, we don't anticipate and plan for obstacles well. So that then leads to, again, frustration, anger, and we lose sight of that optimism or determination or whatever great feeling, positive feeling that we had when we were making the plan. So this is the part where I want to insert this. This is the lesson here. It's important to know that these feelings are going to come up. And it's not because of the situation, or it's not because of that obstacle at hand. It's because of how we are thinking about that situation and that obstacle. We think some form of this is not supposed to be happening, and it feels like ass. Feels terrible. So the question here that I want to pose to you as your coach is, what if we could plan for it? What if we could set a goal now, plan for shit to go wrong, and then decide now how we want to think about it when it does go wrong? And this is a little bit different than the typical like SWOT approach where we say, okay, here's all the obstacles and here's what we're going to do. This is mental stuff, right? This is how we want to think about it, how we want to plan for that shit to go wrong and what we are going to think and feel about it going wrong. Not just the action that we're going to take. That is different. That is way different than the mentality that we're going to have about it. All right, so let's work this out. How do we do this? Well, first, we're going to decide now, when we have that obstacle come up, we're going to tell ourselves, how is it that we would like to feel? And it doesn't mean that you have to feel some fake feeling like optimism, happiness, joy, none of that. Doesn't mean when an obstacle comes up that you have to feel that way. Now, that is open and available to you if you decide, but it's probably not realistic. You can decide maybe something that might feel a little bit more authentic to the situation. Like I've used determination throughout this. You could decide, I want to feel determined. Maybe it's courageous. Maybe I spent an entire year of being comfortable with discomfort. An entire year, that was my mantra of I wanted to feel comfortable in the discomfort. Okay. So then the question becomes, if I want to be determined, what do I need to think in order to stay determined? So you can borrow some thoughts that I've used this year and in the past 3 years, truly building this house and building this business. And I've also used with my kids. But you can borrow some thoughts that I've used as I've tried to stay determined through some of the challenges that I've faced. And one that I use all the time is, we can do hard things. Super simple, super relevant. Sometimes I use, this is the part where we show up and solve problems. And so that makes me feel really comfortable where, again, I don't have to pretend like this is not supposed to be happening. I just say, oh, this is the part where shit goes wrong. And this is where we show up and we solve problems, where we have to come up with solutions and figure things out. One I used just recently with my daughter for her vice president speech to the school is, I can be nervous or anxious and do it anyway. So I use that one a lot when we're feeling uncomfortable or discomfort. It's like, we can still feel that. We can put that feeling in our pocket, carry the nerves or the anxiety with us, and we can still do it anyway. Just carry it with us. Sometimes I use, there must be a way to figure this out. I just have to take the next best step. And then one hit me last week as we were working through some last minute logistics with our house. We ran into a couple snags that really sent us into a tailspin, and we were not sure if we were going to get everything we needed to close on time. And so one that just hit me out of the blue was, it's all going to work out. And I had been praying and meditating and all these like crazy things. And all of a sudden just hit me, and a voice just came to me and was like, it's all going to work out. So you can steal any of those and come up with your own if none of those feel relevant to you. And I want to share too, these are not toxic positivity mantras where we suppress our not so great feelings. As I was mentioning earlier, we can just carry both with us, both the not so great feelings and the great feelings. So, what I mean by that, we can feel anxious or nervous and determined. And what we can do is, if we're envisioning a car, we can just let determined take the wheel and drive, while anxious can ride in the passenger seat, the back seat, or even the trunk. But anxious can be in the car with us. We just don't let them drive the car. And so that's a lot different than saying we want to try to suppress that feeling or push that feeling away, or cover it up or act like it doesn't exist. That's totally different here. And so I want to share that with you, is it's really helped me work through all the obstacles that have come. I've set some really crazy big goals for myself and our family in the past few years. Going after massive goals is like being on the jungle gym, right? And swinging from rung to rung. And I use this analogy with clients as we're going through the career ladder, if you will. It's the jungle gym of going for the next rung on the ladder. It can be super terrifying as we reach for the next one and we don't know if we're going to make it along the way. And we have to let go of the last rung that we're holding on to in order to get across the jungle gym, up to the next rung across the ladder. But when we get all the way across and we look back and we see however far we've come, how strong we are, and what we did and how we had to overcome everything along the way, that's the magic and the goal that we're going after. That's the feeling. And that is the whole meaning and purpose of going after these big, crazy goals. And whether or not we get 100% of what we were after, who we've become and how we've developed along the way, that is what makes it all worth it. So my question for you, as we close this out and wrap this up, is what is your goal that you are going after in 2024? And then what is the thought that's going to help you achieve your goal this year? And lastly, are you willing to feel like ass 50% of the time as a part of the journey? And I hope, as awful as that sounds, I hope the answer is yes. I hope the answer is yes. And I will not tell you by any stretch of the imagination, I've had all these wonderful things happen this year for me, for my family, and we are so thrilled and excited to have achieved some of our goals this year. But I will not pretend to tell you that it was 100% joyful all along the way. And I personally find comfort in that. And I hope you do too, because that's the thing. It is 100% worth it. And you can do it too. So I am working with some clients right now on setting 2024 goals. I have some people, some leaders that are going after some amazing, really cool, big things, taking on some new roles, taking on new projects, working through their dreams. And I can help you with all of this and more. I promise. And we can help you feel better, get better results faster. You can do this work on your own just by listening to this podcast and just working through these feelings. Sometimes it helps to have a thought partner, to have somebody bounce the thoughts that are spinning around in your brain, and to work with someone to get to where you want to be quicker. Right. And so that's what I'm doing. I am starting to book out clients for the year. And so would love to help you if you would need some help with this too. And if you know anybody that would benefit from hearing this message as well, please share this with them. Be so happy to help in some way. Our goal is to make better leaders and make the workplaces stronger, right? So thank you so much for listening. Happy New Year, and we will talk soon. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Executive Coaching Podcast with Alicia Cowan. If you're ready to have an executive coach who's ready to help you lead your team to success, then book an introductory call at aliciacowancoaching.com/call.